What's going on, everybody? I'll wait for some people to get in. Buzzard 207, what's going on? Let me know if you can hear me. It's not my ideal setup here, but most of my stuff is at the studio, so just wanted to try to go live a little bit, say hello to everybody, take some questions, give you some thoughts as we wait for the RNC day one to start in about an hour. A lot going on. Boy, what a news cycle we are living through right now. What's up, Gary Fisher? Cheryl says yes. I guess it means you can hear me. Hope it sounds okay. Not my typical setup that I use, but should do the job for today. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. Huey, Nancy, Steve. Kathy. Hello, everyone. Welcome on in. Welcome on in. Susan on YouTube. Hello, everybody on Facebook. Allison Johnson. Hello. Hello. Boy, I can't believe the last time I spoke to everybody was on Friday night. It seems like we've lived a whole different life since Friday night. The world has changed in so many ways. It's only been 2 full days, but yet it seems like it's been 2 full centuries since we were on Friday. As we were getting ready for Saturday, the Real America's Voice crew heading out to Pennsylvania. Watched a lot of the pre-show. I was actually jumped in the chat on the pre-show. Probably around 5:30. I think Trump was supposed to start talking at 5, got delayed till 6. Trump is announcing his VP pick tonight. There's been reports that there's Secret Service outside of J.D. Vance's home as he left his home. Again, those are just reports. There is video out there as well. A lot of law enforcement around his house. So that's the overall thought. That's been the thought for the last week, that we were leaning in on him, and it looks like that could possibly be the case. People were talking about, obviously, this Saturday, what happened changed his pick for VP. I really couldn't see how it could. As long as he feels like he has somebody strong who could step in, God forbid they were ever successful, which they almost were. So having thought about all this for 2 full days, a couple things that I just can't shake. First thing is that I don't think it's anything short of divine intervention that the president is alive. When you take everything into totality, the fact that he called for that graphic early on when he wasn't supposed to, the way he turned his head at the very last moment to look at it. If you look at it in slow motion, there's a lot of video out there. If he was talking to the crowd straight on with his head straight on, he's probably dead. If he's looking any other way, he's probably dead. If he steps back a half an inch, he's probably dead. I mean, I don't know how else to look at that, to think just somebody said it's not your time. So that's a haunting thought when you think about how close he was and we were to a very different world. So that's one. Just the way he notches his head at the very last moment before you see him grab his ear. If he's in any other way, could be very different. If he hadn't called for that graphic, could be very different. And obviously, I mean, I know people who watch this show are going to think that Delgado's rubbing off on me. And I don't say this lightly because this is nothing about this situation that's to be taken lightly. But until I hear a plausible, and plausible has a pretty high bar for what plausible will tell me. Until I hear a plausible explanation for how a 20-year-old high school graduate with seemingly no experience with a firearm, no training, was able to climb a ladder, which I hear is a permanent fixture on that building, get up on top of a roof that he had no idea would or would have not been empty unless he did know it wasn't going to be empty, was able to get up on top of the building, set up an AR on sticks with a scope, scale the entire roof to the crest or to wherever the vantage point was from 130 yards, from a location that if you took a 7th grader and took him out to that location and put him in the middle of that field facing the stage where Trump was talking and said, okay, Johnny, now tell us where we want to look if we think there could be a problem with somebody who's going to throw stones at the stage. A 7th grader could look to the left and go right there, and look to the right and go right there, or look wherever else and go right there. But yet a 20-year-old with the former president speaking 130 yards away was able to set up, do all of that in direct line sight on a perfect weather day with a 100-foot flag flying above the president that gave him the wind, and was able to get shots off after supposedly a law enforcement officer climbed the ladder, saw him, supposedly may have been either turned towards with the weapon and then he retreated, with people on the ground yelling that there's a guy on the roof with a gun. Trump not taken off the stage. This guy allowed to get shots off. Then the Secret Service covers the president. You can hear the audio that they have no idea basically where, at least the female Secret Service agents, where are we going, where are we going? Kept him there, stood him back up, allowed him to tell them he wanted to get his shoes on 3 times, then still kept them there in time enough for him to shake his fist, and we got all these iconic pictures out of it, but still. And then finally got him away without knowing if there's any other active shooters. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people this weekend, and some people have raised some points that I didn't think about. But until I hear a plausible explanation for how that happens in any lifetime, it's hard not to think this kid knew that roof wasn't going to be covered or got some help somehow getting, I don't know. It doesn't pass any sensible smell test whatsoever how that roof is not guarded. It makes 0 sense to me. There has been no explanation that makes any sense, other than this was deliberate or he got help or something. You're just telling me some loner who couldn't make the rifle club because his aim was so bad? It just doesn't make it. It just doesn't pass even my smell test. And I'm no conspiracy theorist at all. But there's no plausible explanation for how that happens. There's just not. Again, if you took an 8th grader and stood him in that field, they would point to that roof and go, well, you got to have somebody up there. A lot of comments coming in. Try to get to some of them. And the FBI supposedly has his phone, and they tell us that they can't get into it. They can get into everybody's phone. The other haunting image for me, and I talked to somebody who knows a lot about firearms, owns a lot of them, has shot these kind of guns, is the video of the crowd from a distance where you can see Trump standing at the podium and you can see the snipers, who I guess were local police, not Secret Service, I guess, on the roof. And you can clearly see that the one guy is scoping that roof. Now, I thought all along he had to be scoping the individual, had him in sight, and what is he waiting for? Because you can see Trump clearly still talking, standing up. The shot had not been taken yet. And he's clearly scoping that direct area. Now, someone who knows a lot about this said, well, the issue with that could have been if the roof had a crest to it, then he may not have been able to see the kid if he was crawling to the crest before he took the shot. Now, the other almost hard to process thing out there that I saw was that there may be some kind of thing where he could not have engaged until a shot was taken. I mean, I can't even believe that's real. I mean, that again does not pass any common sense smell test whatsoever. He couldn't engage until the shot was taken. I've never heard of such a thing. So there's just so many questions, none of them I've heard reasonable answers to. And if you just want to break it down to one thing, somebody needs to explain to us how possibly this kid got on that roof. I mean, that's it. I mean, make us understand how that's possible in any lifetime. All right, let me go back here. I know you guys are a lot of comments. I mean, yeah. I mean, the roof should have been covered. It's like, I mean, I mean, it's like you talk about the basics 101. Again, you go stand in that field, look at the stage and go, okay, what would, I mean, and the fact that we haven't heard, I saw somebody say conspiracy theories develop in the absence of facts or something to that effect. The fact that we have not heard from the director of the Secret Service or anybody in any substantial matter. They held a press conference last night and all they wanted to talk about was Milwaukee, which, okay, you can have a press conference on Milwaukee, but where are the answers to what just happened? Megyn Kelly said that Biden said 5 days before enough debate changed. Well, he said that at a private. I think it's been proven that he said that at a private function. Yeah, it's hard to swallow the Oval Office unity speech, which I thought was pretty weak, when the messenger is the biggest culprit of them all and doesn't say anything about his own culpability in all of it in his party. So it's hard to take that message with any seriousness. The Marine I am married to says it was absolutely planned. I mean, it's not something you really want to, I mean, you know, I would not normally, you guys know me, I'm not normally I'm normally in the find the facts and just go with what plausibly your mind tells you. But there's just no plausible explanation for this. And until I hear something, it's hard not to think about what you guys are saying. It's hard not to think about it. Damon, I can't find your website to buy shirts. Oh, it's just our website, livefromstudio6b.com. Everything is there. And no, I do not have any shirt regarding this incident. I don't think it's appropriate, and I would never do that. People have sent me that famous picture of him with the flag to make a shirt. It's not my picture. I have no licensing. I have no. I wouldn't feel great about it anyways, honestly. Unless I could donate the money to somebody, then I would maybe do it. But let's see, what else did I miss here? Police were told by the guy at the BBC interview that they told the police that they saw a man with a rifle clamp. Yeah, I mean, that interview amongst many was just stunning to watch. Now, I mean, there's, did the people on the ground actually rush this kid to move earlier than he thought? I mean, if you think this through, it seemed like he was going to have all the time in the world to take what is a basic, if you're a basic enthusiast and have taken any kind of, you've been to the range a couple times, you could make that shot. I mean, I talk to people who, are gun enthusiasts, have guns, live in different states where you can have an AR. And I asked him, I said, you could make that shot, right? He said 9 out of 10 times. He said, now, if the kid was rushed because he felt like they were closing in, if he felt like he was going to get taken out because the people on the ground were yelling, possibly. The other thing is, if he said if he was going for center mass, which they always tell you to go center mass, he goes, it's probably an easy shot. If he was aiming for the head, obviously, again, to me, that's just divine intervention that the president is alive. Mistakes on the kid's part, rushed, whatever it was, we'll never know. But that's not a hard shot from 130 yards with that weapon. On a clear day with that line of sight, with a flag above him showing you exactly what the wind is doing. I believe, Huey, that is the case. I believe all week we will not be on the actual network. So we will not be on Real America's Voice. We will not be on their channels. We will be on our channels. So no commercials. It'll just be us talking straight through. We'll take a lot of questions from you guys. We'll maybe do some guests if we can. Trying to work on some former snipers and some others to get on. That's the other thing I take into consideration when these things happen. I always say I try to go to people who know more about these situations than I do. And every single former Marine, sniper, everything I've seen, again, so far, is in the same camp I'm in. Not a conspiracy theorist. Don't want to think about it. But no one has given me a plausible explanation for how this happened, because this doesn't happen. I've listened to everything Dan Bongino said. I think he's been right on the money. But every former sniper, Marine, military guy I've heard or watched videos of have all said the same thing. There's no way this kid wasn't helped. Well, I posted on X a video of those three once they got him finally off the stage, and the disarray that was going on over there by that car. It's got over 1 million views on it, and it's just really gone semi-viral on our X. And I said, can someone explain to me what these three ladies are doing? I mean, it looks like day one on the job. What in the hell is going on? There's some story there that we don't know the full context of yet. These were either not everyday trained, well managed for this kind of a situation Secret Service agents, or I don't know if they were temps. I don't know if they were brought in just for that day. But there's some story there that we need to know about as well, because they did not look like they had any idea. They didn't look like they had any comm. They didn't look like they had any. Now, listen, I know most of them at least jumped to cover the president, and that's what they're supposed to do. And it's bravery that most of us will never No, I get that. I hate even talking even remotely negative about somebody who would take a bullet for another human. But they did not look like they knew what they were doing. They looked panicked. I mean, the one couldn't even put the holster her gun 5, 6 times she tried, and then she just ended up holding it. The other ones were looking back and forth like just no idea what to do. I mean, who's guarding the former and future president of the United States? Yeah, exactly. I don't know how you guard a 6'5" person with somebody who's 5'2". It's a good question too. They say no so far. We don't know. I saw that, Richard, as well. Elizabeth, I'm with you. I think there was a big hand. Somebody said today's not your day, pal, because there's just the play out of the facts, calling for that graphic. I mean, he asked David McCormick to come up on stage, and then he said, "No, you know what? You'll come up in a little bit." I mean, there's just when you really think about it, so many things. Connie, it's not even about how the police miss him. There has to be a huge questions about the communications on this day. What were the comms like? Comms usually, from what I hear from people who do this, on days like these, comms are usually a disaster. Meaning you've got local guys on one channel, you got Secret Service on another channel. So if a local guy sees something, he's got to go on his channels, then they got to go to the other channel. So we need to know all of that as well. What were the comms like? Who's got the audio of the comms that happened? Specifically with the sniper on the roof, who clearly looked like he was scoping this kid or that roof or that area. Was he just scoping the area because they said, hey, we have a potential threat? But if that's the case, why wasn't Trump taken off the stage immediately? There's just too many things that don't add up in the timing. Well, John, I don't know if I'm reading your mind. I don't know if it's that much of a stretch. I mean, again, I think common sense people can use common sense, and they know when things don't add up. I mean, it just doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up. I mean, again, I just keep going back to the same thing. If they took me, who has no experience with casing any of the, if they took me and stood me in the middle of the field looking at where he was going to speak and said, well, what do you think? I could have easily said, well, you got to have guys up there. You got to have guys. I mean, anybody could have done that. There's no excuse. You put two, doesn't have to be Secret Service, put two law enforcement, regular old police officers from Butler County up on the roof. If the ladder is a permanent fixture on the back of the building, climb up the ladder and just stand there. How did this kid know that roof was, where was he casing that roof from? Did he case this joint out before? Does he have any connection to the building? How does he know he climbs that ladder and there's not somebody up there somewhere who can see him? He's carrying a rifle. He just climbs the ladder. where the people on the ground are going, hey, that doesn't look right. I don't know what they could tell me that I could go, oh, okay, that makes sense. Exactly. I said this on Twitter. Then we hear that there was a law enforcement officer who climbed the ladder, saw him, the kid swung the gun around or something, and the officer retreated. How about shoot the bastard? You know he's not one of yours. You know he's not one of theirs. You would climb back down the ladder. I mean, that's hard to imagine as well. Who is that officer? I totally agree with this. Heard a guy in Glen Beck this morning, a Canadian sharpshooter that holds the record of farthest shot to. He said it was a hit. Every single one of those kind of guys that I've seen on social media, and I've spent more time on social media than I want to because I've been looking for, people who have a background in this stuff talking about it. There's not one of them, not one, like not one. If there was like one, the guy who killed bin Laden, I saw him on a podcast as well. Not one has said that there's any reasonable explanation for how this could happen. Not a one. I don't know the guy that you're speaking of here, but they're all the same. Trying to work through your comments here. I mean, putting everything we've talked about aside, this guy's, we heard the stories of him when he was president. We all know who he is. But that aftermath, putting aside the Secret Service issues that I have with those moments, you look at the Reagan tape, how fast they got. I mean, I don't know what they were. I honestly have no idea what was going on. They had no idea there was. I mean, I know somebody said shoot her down to them. I heard them say we're all clear. I don't know how they could have known they were all clear. How do they know there wasn't someone in the stands right behind them? How do they know there wasn't someone who ran from the outside of the perimeter once the shots fired, coming at them from the crowd? The crowd didn't. The crowd didn't stampede. I mean, there were so many things that were happening and could have happened. I just don't know how they possibly could have been waiting for an all clear and not just get him the hell out of there by any and all means necessary. But having said all of that, his intestinal fortitude to stand up and shake his fist and say, I mean, I've watched that probably 100 times, and I get chills every single time because the crowd, which did not disperse like you would think, I think most of them probably still weren't sure what was going on, how much danger there was. They erupted when he put his fist up for the first time. Every time I watch it, my whole body just breaks out in goosebumps. It is so quintessential Trump, the fighter, I'm going to fight for the country. Nothing is going to stop me. What he's always said, they're after you, but I'm just in the way. I mean, that is like next level, man. Like next level. That's what witnesses said. You wouldn't have seen him even with the binoculars because of the way the building was shaped. Yeah, he was crawling kind of up, but he wouldn't have seen him until he got to the absolute crest. I think that's what you're talking about. That's one possibility. That's one possibility, but um, again, until we hear from that guy on the roof with the sniper who was clearly scoping that area. I don't want to say the roof. Maybe he was scoping the area, the trees, the ground. I don't know, but I don't know. All right, let me try to catch up on some of your what you guys are thinking. I know there's a lot of angels were looking after President Trump. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Somebody certainly was. I read this, Robert, as well. The spokesperson, not the director, but the spokesperson for the Secret Service. Not that I believe anything that's coming from them, says that's not true. But Dan Bongino says they need to be questioned under oath, which I agree with. Yeah, I mean, again, true. Supposedly he left no social media, no political leanings. Supposedly he was a terrible shot, couldn't make it to the rifle team in high school, but all of a sudden now. Bongino said, yeah. Bongino said there was a lot of temps and a lot of replacements for the day, not the typical permanent. Um, he said only one or two of the guys who were there were like permanent Trump fixtures. So again, we need to know if that's true. I mean, there's just obviously so much, and the fact that this much time has gone by, that we all have to sit here and try to play what happened, and we're getting nothing from anybody, and we're just supposed to believe, given the last 9 years, that these agencies are just going to tell us the truth, and oh yeah, everything's going to be okay. I mean, we're talking about half an inch, 5 millimeters, that this guy would have been dead and his head blown off on live TV. It's just crazy that it's Monday and we have nothing. And I don't care what he was registered, by the way. All this, he's a registered Republican. Yeah, James Comey was a registered Republican. Who cares? Right. So we don't know if this is true, and from videos that are out there, it certainly seems like people were. If the sniper, while that's going on, if the sniper on top of the building can't see the kid because he's not at the crest of the building yet, or they're talking in the comms, they're saying, "Hey, we may have a potential." Why not either? Why isn't Trump allowed to go out? Number one, just delay it for an hour, half an hour. People aren't going to care. They're already sitting there in 100-degree heat for hours. Or if he's already on there, why is he not pulled off the stage? I mean, again, this seems like the basic protection 101. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I don't know what they could tell us for us to be able to supplant that statement. Exactly. Conspiracy theory and the so-called absence of facts. Yeah. Hello. Um, Good question, Kevin. You wouldn't think he would have been the choice. Why is this live, Frederick? I can't take your questions taped. My feeling is the sniper had to wait that it was confirmed the individual was a threat before taking their shot, and the upper ups gave okay, not an excuse, just an observation. Well, again, even if we go with that there's this ridiculous thing where he can't engage till the sniper engages, or he doesn't want to take out what could have been a friendly on that roof. Number one, they should have known where they had their guys. They would have known if one of their guys was on that roof. And number two, he doesn't have to take a shot. All they have to do is get Trump off the stage or not allow him to go out. So again, what's the communication between 130 yards away in the field and 130 yards over to the stage and the guys over there? Who's communicating with who? I've seen some speculation about whether the president was wearing a vest. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that. Does he always in these situations where he's outside? I don't know. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Even if they weren't sure, even if they couldn't see him, even if he was crawling and he still wasn't at a part where they could see him, why is he not taken off the stage or not allowed to start? I mean, I don't know how long. I mean, I think he went on at 6. I think this was at 6:11. The first shot rang out. Could they have known about it for more than 11 minutes? Could they have known there was even a threat? I mean, it would seem to me that even if there's a communication that's anything is even possible, you hold them back. I mean, that just seems basic. But nothing about this is basic. It all seems basic. That's the problem. Thanks, Chris. I'm looking forward to it too. I haven't spoken too much to the guys. We were on text back and forth during it, obviously. So I'll be interested in their thoughts. I mean, I don't know how they could be that different from mine. If this is where I'm at, and I'm usually the naive one of the group, obviously, because I try to not be a conspiracy theorist, but this is I don't even think this is a conspiracy. It's just plain. It's just the facts in front of us. I mean, there's just there's no plausible explanation for how this kid was able to pull this off. None. Obviously, in other news today, as I keep going through your well, that's because that's how tall they are. I mean, the question more is why they were on that detail, not why they're short. Why are they in that job would be my question. In other news, the documents case was dropped this morning from Judge Eileen Cannon. And this is why I focused so much a couple weeks ago, if you remember on the show. I focused on when the Supreme Court ruled in the immunity case. I didn't focus on John Roberts, focused on Clarence Thomas. And I think I read to you Clarence Thomas's almost separate opinion, even though it was a concurrent opinion, when he took direct aim at Jack Smith. That's why I focused on it then. And I knew it was a shot across the bow. And I knew Judge Cannon was already, I'm sure, well down the road, as Thomas Massey was and others, that this appointment of a special counsel who was not already approved by the Senate, confirmed by the Senate, should have been a problem under the appointments clause. And that's exactly what it ended up being, and good for her. Now, it doesn't mean that's the end of it. They can appeal to the 11th Circuit. And, of course, the left is saying, oh, well, this will be the end of Judge Cannon. I'm not so sure about that because, I think the 11th Circuit knows exactly where this ends up, which is right back with Justice Thomas in the court, which I think would be upheld. So I do believe that's probably the end of the documents case, which by all accounts was the case that probably had the most danger for Trump. At least according to Jonathan Turley, he thought so. This is what I said before. When the messenger about unity gave you the same message 3.5 years ago when he took office and has done everything to not have unity, and quite frankly has done everything to when you dehumanize a person to the level they've dehumanized Trump, his life has no meaning to them anymore. He's not a human of flesh and blood. He's not a father. He's not a grandfather. He's not a brother. He's not a husband. He's none of those things. He's just this thing that is a danger to them, is what they've been told. So when you dehumanize somebody to the level that they've dehumanized him, and Biden most of all, and his party most of all, this is what happens. And he ran on and spoke at his inauguration about unifying the country. He's done nothing even close to that, especially when it comes to Trump. They've done nothing but dehumanize him. The left looks at Trump as somebody who has no value as a human, and a lot of the people who support them feel that same way. I think a lot of people feel that way, Ro. We're doing a show, but we just won't be on the network. So no commercial breaks. I don't know if we're going to go 2 hours or I'm not sure. We're just going to see. I got to talk to the network and see how much RNC. We'll probably do some RNC coverage if there's some good speeches. Obviously tonight, I suspect tonight we're going to get the official, I guess we're going to get the official J.D. Vance announcement, if it is him, which everything points to the fact that it is, at some point this afternoon. And then I would not be surprised to see them in prime time tonight together, if that is the case. So we'll be covering the RNC, not the way obviously the network is. They're there, but we'll have the feed up. If there's something worthwhile, we'll take it, comment on it, watch it with you. So we'll just do our thing tonight. It'll be relaxed. It won't be, obviously, we won't have to worry about being on the network or on direct. We'll just be on our socials. So we'll be able to really talk, not totally worry about what we say. And that'll be most of this week, probably. But we'll take the VP speech on Wednesday night. We'll take the president's speech on Thursday night. I mean, listen, I think it's Vance. I mean, everything is pointed that way. With Don Jr. being such a huge fan, he posted about him last week. Obviously, from Ohio, big important state to bring the Rust Belt, important. He connects. He's popular. Seems like he's pretty tough. Obviously, he wasn't a huge Trump fan, but he's kind of come around, I guess. I thought the speech he gave to the conservative, whatever last week there, I thought was excellent. So I think policy-wise, he's solid. I don't have a problem with Vance. Probably maybe not have been my first choice. I didn't even really have him on the radar for a while. But could be good. Could be good. Certainly better than a lot of the other names were tossed around. So in that way, I'm happy. That's for sure. All right, let me see here. Oh my God, I'm still 20 minutes behind on your comments. I'm way behind. Yeah, that's what we talked about. Looked like he had Secret Service outside his house today when he was departing, looking like he's heading to Milwaukee. I'd like to know why you think that, handsome. What's led you to that? Because you could apply that name to a lot of Republicans before him, I would think, but I don't know. Let me know. Damon, show us your shoes. I don't have any shoes on right now. See my hat back there, though? There it is, right there. Yeah, Bobby, it's hard to speculate on this part of it. We talked about it. I'd like to be able to hear from somebody. Did he not? He was clearly scoping that area for a while Trump was talking. Did he not see him? Was the kid not high enough on the roof? It's hard for me to imagine that it was just like, oh, you can't fire until he fires. There's just no way. I just can't buy that that's what it is. Just can't. Seen a lot of people talking about this, people focusing on individuals behind there. Oh, the lady with the glasses had her phone ready so quickly. It must mean something. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what any of that means. Yeah, this is what most of the guys who you watch, like the rifle or Marines or experts on security or guys who did this for prime ministers or other people, all say. I mean, I don't even think his rally schedule this year so far has been as intense as it was in 2020 or 2016 or other times. I don't feel like it's not like he's doing a rally like every day or every 2 days, every single week. He's not, somebody was like, oh, he's doing too many. They're laxing because they don't have enough manpower to get from one to the other to scope all this stuff out. I don't even feel like that's true. I mean, I don't know about the manpower, but I don't feel like he's doing rallies at such a clip that they shouldn't be able to. Again, This was not like a needle in a haystack. This is like you stand there, you look at the stage, you look left, and you go, well, okay, right. Again, I don't even think you need somebody who's an expert in this to go be able to do that. So I don't know. Again, it'd be nice to hear from the people who did that. Who was in charge of doing the advance on this location? I don't know what Delgado's theory is. I haven't spoken to him yet. We weren't really throwing around theories on our text chain. We were just couldn't believe what we were watching. I wish Rab would have all the regularly scheduled hosts share on air in their respective time slots during the convention so we can hear their thoughts. Rab is doing what they want to do. Yeah. Again, what was the communications between locals, Secret Service? How many channels were there? How many channels were open? Who was talking on what channels? I'm not an expert in how all that works, but it certainly seems like if the sniper's on one channel saying, I don't see anything, I can't get the guy, or I'm looking at, he's not at a part where I can't engage. I mean, it doesn't take long to get him off the stage. Yeah, Cindy, we talked about that. We talked about them. Their performance was. I don't really like trying to even speak negatively about being. I don't know what I would do in that situation. But if I was a trained Secret Service agent, I would hope that our team would have a better idea than what seemingly sounded like they had. At least this specific woman you're talking about, who seemed frantic to say the least. Where are we going? Where are we going? And then what happened over at the car was just. Yes, I did, Lisa. We talked about it before. So many people were saying things. Again, that goes back down to the comms. Who was talking to who? How is he on that stage still? How does he not? If they can't, even if the snipers can't see him, how is he left up on that stage? No, he does not. He does not. He doesn't look like he's even capable of climbing the ladder, quite frankly. If you want to know something, it looks like he's about 110 pounds soaking wet. I believe the ladder is a permanent fixture on the building, I've heard. I can't confirm that, but that's just what I've heard. I've heard that the ladder is a permanent fixture on the back of that building. So he didn't bring the ladder. It wasn't placed there for him. My understanding is that it's a permanent fixture on the building. But I can't even say that with 100% confidence. That's just what I've heard. It makes the most sense. I mean, although this thing has just gotten so wild, I mean, it's hard to imagine a kid walking around with a rifle bag and a ladder, or that was placed there for him. Let's see what else we got. You guys got a lot to say. Yes, we've heard the same thing. It was not as usual detail. Could have been. Now, the spokesman for the Secret Service said that it was not because they moved resources to Joe Biden. He said that's not how it works. That's not what they do. But Bongino said he's heard from sources that a lot of those people were temps, not his people. As a matter of fact, I think he said there was only one, like the lead guy is usually Trump's lead guy, but he's the only consistent one who was there that day, which would explain the chaos you heard on the audio. And then those three around the car looking like the Keystone Cops. Yes, we talked about this as well. That makes literally no sense to me. How a law enforcement officer could engage the guy and then retreat just because the kid turned. I mean, is there any other situation that you could imagine a cop walking up to someone, engaging someone, walking around the corner and finding someone with a weapon and not immediately? They don't usually go, "Oh, sorry," and go away. They usually would engage, I would think. So I don't know that we need some more information on that as well. Yeah, there's no doubt. I think I have pretty good common sense, but it is fishy. None of it passes any basic smell test at all. Not yet. And I'm willing to leave the door open that somebody can make it pass it, but I don't know what they're going to have to say to make that happen, because none of it makes any sense. None of it. Even if they were understaffed, I mean, again, understaffing to me it's not. You have one job. You have one job. You certainly have a budget that reflects the one job you need to do. You are not underfunded, so you shouldn't be understaffed. And understaffed, quite frankly, there's no Monday morning quarterbacking when it comes to this. You're not allowed mistakes. You're not allowed mistakes when you're the Secret Service protecting the president of the United States. There is no, oh well, we should have. No, that there's none of that. You don't get to do that. Half Filipino Chris, thank you for the super chat. You didn't have a comment, but you just $2 super chat. Thank you. Boy, I tell you, more than some of them, unfortunately. And again, we salute all law enforcement every night on this show, and there's no secret where we stand on law enforcement, the bravery of these people, of those people who jumped on Trump. They had no idea if there was another shooter, if there was more bullets coming. So I don't even like to even sniff going down that road of criticizing people who put their life on the line every single day and did in that moment. But there are just some questions about the whole thing. When I watched it in real time, when they stood him up, I actually thought to myself, "Oh my God, why are they standing him up? His head is exposed." That's what I actually thought in real time. I was like, "Why are they standing him up?" I was standing in front of the TV, like almost. I just couldn't believe it. Like I just expected them to have their hand on his head and just getting him out of there. And at that point, we didn't have this audio. When it happened live, I don't remember hearing him saying all this. Get my shoes. Wait, wait, wait. I was thinking to myself in real time when it said happen. Why are they not just ducking his head and running? Literally carry him if you have to. I mean, the crowd behavior was probably something to be studied somewhere down the line too. I don't know the whole psychology of the crowd is something probably that someone's going to look at someday and write about, because when you step back and think about it, it's crazy, honestly, almost to think about that the crowd didn't even move. There was no stampede. It was not out of control. It was not, I mean, I don't know if it was, they had no concept or idea of what was happening. If maybe they thought it was, I know I heard people say they thought maybe it was fireworks at first, or the speakers were blowing out, or what they thought. But the crowd was, when you think about it, was pretty wild. This was, I got the RNC up here. This was supposed to start 1:45. I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any audio yet. Yeah, I saw that. MSNBC pulled Morning Joe off the air this morning. What does that say? They were afraid they couldn't actually legitimately go on the air and talk about this in a human way. I mean, if you pull your lead show off the air because you don't think they can go out and actually talk about this in a human way without being a bunch of jackasses, then you probably shouldn't have the show on at all. Ground zero for Trump derangement syndrome, and they couldn't even let him go to air this morning. What the hell does that say? Someone should tell them about their 8 o'clock show at night. They should really make read out, if you know what I mean. Yeah, Benny Thompson specifically, who supposedly fired his staffer who made some vile comment after this about wish the guy hadn't missed, or some, ridiculous. But again, this goes back to when you dehumanize a person to a level that they have no worth as a human, and you've told everybody that they don't have any worth as a human, that they're not of flesh and blood, that would, that's what leads them to want to do things like that. Like, we don't care if he dies. He has no value on this earth. That's their thinking. I don't know if I can even catch up with the comments, guys, at this point, but we've been going for, I don't know, about an hour or so. Try to go through some other ones here. If you're watching on whatever you're watching on, just make sure you subscribe to the channel. It really does help us. If you can, subscribe, like, hit the thumbs up. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell notification. You get notified when we go live, especially this week because we won't be on the network because they'll be covering what goes on in the hall at the RNC. Try to do some more of these during the week too, right here. Even though it's not the best setup, I guess it's working okay. I don't have my lights or my real cameras. Those are all at the studio, so I didn't know if this was going to work. But if it does, I'll do more of these during the week. Thank you, Melody. Appreciate that. I wanted to try to go live over the weekend, but, it's just one of those things where I just wanted to, I said it's probably better if I just try to take in more information, see what's, before I start going out there and say something stupid, which I didn't want to do. And honestly, I was hoping not to get to a point where I was really hoping that we were going to get some, I don't know what I was hoping for. I guess because right from the start, I was like, there's just, how is that roof open? Just how? It's not like missing, it's like it'd be like one thing and be like, oh, geez, we really, we missed that, whatever. And you go, well, yeah, I mean, who would have thought of that? But this is like the total opposite. It's like, who wouldn't have thought of that? Nobody. A fifth grader would have seen that. Any single person in law enforcement that's ever been trained on day one of canvassing a place would have seen that. Robert, we've talked about this a couple times. I don't think that's true, although, I'm only going by what the spokesperson for the Secret Service, until these people are under oath in front of a congressional hearing, no one's going to know for sure. Go with people you trust. Like Bongino says that they've applied for resources and they've been turned down, and he swears by it. I would tend to believe him. But I would think the House here is going to do a pretty good and swift job of trying to get to the bottom of some of this. That's the only thing we can hope for. If we're going to wait for the FBI or any of these other places, I think you're going to be waiting a long time, and you're not going to trust it when you hear it anyways. So not that the House is full of people I'm jumping up and down for with the pom-poms, but at least maybe we'll get something that we can get some facts. Because if not, this is what people are going to do. No one's going to come up with a reason on how this could happen with the president of the United States coming within an inch of his life from some 20-year-old graduate who couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, according to the people who knew him, when he went and all of a sudden was able to do this unabated. No. Nope. Nancy, new member. Thank you very much. Welcome. If you're not, by the way, you can join the channel, subscribe, like, thumbs up. Twitter numbers continue to grow nicely, slowly but nicely. Hoping to get the YouTube numbers up as well. Like to get the subscribers up. So if you can, just subscribe to as many of our social medias as you can. Well, that's our plan. We'll do some commentary during the RNC this week. We'll have it live as well, like this shot right here. We'll have it up live. We'll have the speakers live, and if comments are necessary, then we will bring them. Speakers look like a pretty good lineup. Looks like what's her name was offered a spot to speak, Nikki Haley, and she's accepted. She turned over her delegates. Forbes reporting J.D. Vance left his house via armored motorcade. Yep, we talked about that in the very, very beginning. Looks like everything points to him being the guy. And I don't have a problem with Vance. I think it could be. I think that's probably a good pick. He will mop the floor in a way that it'll almost look like abuse with Kamala Harris if they even do that. That will be appointment television. I mean, there's many who could do it, but he will do it like very well. She's got to be thinking, oh, Jesus. Ma. New member. Thank you very much. I believe they were, Regina. I think they were screaming. Again, we probably need some more eyewitness accounts, but there's a lot of video out there of people trying to warn local officials that there was somebody on that roof. So I think they were. I heard somebody say, if Vance is the pick, then we lose a good senator. How about the governor appoints Vivek to fill Vance's seat? Now, is Vivek from Ohio? I don't know. But maybe I should know that, but for some reason I don't. But I did see that out there, and I thought, I think the governor of Ohio is pretty much a flop, so I don't know that he would even do it, but okay, I think I'm caught up. Yes, Vivek is from Ohio. Okay, there you go. So I don't know if DeWine would do that. He's a moron. But Damon, I don't know if this was mentioned, but Melania's statement. Melania's statement was as good. I put it out. I saw it right away when she posted it, like 2 minutes after she posted it, at least on X. I reposted it and I said, I don't think you could come up with a better statement than she came up with. Absolutely beautiful. Talk about humanizing him in a way. All right, guys. Done about an hour or so. I don't know what's going on at the RNC, although maybe it looks like they're starting now. Or maybe not. I don't know. I was hoping to catch some of this with you, but oh, I just realized who wrote that statement. Hi, Kim. Glad you're watching. Yes, it was absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Marion, it's on our X, her statement. If you want to go see it, you probably have to scroll down because I've been posting a lot, but it's really quite beautiful. Classy, first class, just like she is. So, time to go to Woody's. Announcement in the 4 p.m. hour for the VP. That's what they say. So, I would suspect when we're on tonight, we'll be on all our socials tonight, 8 to 10, or I'm not sure, 8 to 9. How long we'll go? We'll probably go at least 8 to 10, our normal slot. No commercials. It'll just be us on our social medias tonight. So make sure you're subscribed. X, YouTube, Facebook, Kick. We'll be in all our normal spots. I think we'll be on our Getter at LFS6B as well. We will not be on Real America's Voice. We will not be on Real America's Voice Getter. So if you normally watch us on Real America's Voice Getter, we will not be there tonight. So this is a perfect opportunity. Subscribe to our X, subscribe to our YouTube so you won't miss out this week because they'll be covering the RNC. We will as well, but we'll mix in our commentary. And it would not surprise me at all at some point between 8 and 10 tonight if we do not see both the president with his vice presidential pick at some point. He did it back in 2020. I believe he showed up on Monday night. And it would not certainly surprise me if he shows up tonight, and which I would think would be an earth-shattering welcome, as it should be. So yeah, that's it. And like I said, I'll stream some of these maybe during the week, this week during the day. We'll come on here, especially if the RNC's got anything good going on during the day or anything else that's happening. Start streaming a little more during the day on our socials. So please make sure you subscribe. I appreciate it very much. Wild card, Dolly Parton for VP. Could be. All right. Thanks, everybody. Good to finally get back to talking to you. We'll go over all this again tonight. Probably repeat a lot of what I talked about. And we'll get the other guys' thoughts. Slick Rick texted me on Saturday night as this was all going down. He said, I want to get on air right now. So I know he's got stuff to say as well, too. He was pretty emotional, as we all were. The world has changed, for sure. This is quite the news cycle we're living through. We'll look back on history. We'll look back on this time, certainly. This week. I mean, this is history. I mean, this is our grandkids and their grandkids will be learning about this week in the history books. The way that man reacted. Just unbelievable. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for jumping in. Glad to be here. We'll do it again. And I'll see you tonight, 8 o'clock, live from Studio 6B on all socials. Thanks.